Welcome to the Metroparks Podcast, episode 14. I'm Lorenzo. He is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Lucky number 14. Here we are. Just 7 episodes ago, it was number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now look at us.
We were just babes in the woods. Now, look at us.
We're
shells.
We're flourishing.
Shells of our former
Now
self.
look at us. We can't even figure out a simile for what we.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not sure I know what a simile is. Right, man. So, pretty cool show. We've got Alex Guest, wildlife filmmaker and National Geographic Award winner, a great partner and friend to not just the Metroparks, but really conservation in Northwest Ohio. So, I'm super excited to do a deep dive with that guy.
Yeah, because he's been everywhere, so it's gonna be cool to figure out or find out like some of his cool spots that he's been in.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got Wintering the Towpath is all virtual, so we got that going on. There's that's out at my park at Providence. Will be a series of videos that people can watch. One will feature the operations department, so I will be on video.
That's
so
right.
If people have never seen me, they can
Sure.
see me there.
Well, no, that will not positively impact turnout. But yeah, Wintering the Towpath was traditionally held over a weekend here and was really successful. We just wanted to get people an option for an organized hike in February. And now with COVID, we're stretching it out over a long period of time and giving people multiple touch points. Really, the backbone of it is to get people to get outside. Got to get your blood moving, get some fresh air, whether it's on the towpath or not.
Yeah.
There's plenty of hikes that are for any distance or any level hiker. Lots of programming, both during normal park hours. We keep hammering away at the After Dark programs to check in that. We know that people are busy and lives are certainly complicated, but Metroparks and Metroparks programming is here for you. We are also open for suggestions, not just from the podcast standpoint for things you want to know more about, but programmatically. So follow us on Facebook, check out our website, ask questions. We're here to serve you. So I'm proud of the programming efforts and all the maintenance and frontline staff and our rangers. They are putting their full shoulders into having things for people to do safely in the winter of 2021.
Yeah, so come out and check out all our parks. Like Matt said, check out the website, metroparkstoledo.com. We'll be right back with our guest, Alex Goetz, wildlife photographer. And we're back with our guest this week, wildlife filmmaker Alex Goetz. Alex, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Alex, did you bring some wildlife with you?
No, I wish. We were talking turkeys. I need to just have turkeys with me all the time. That's like my claim to fame, I feel like, this year. Was the
I don't know if Lorenzo's aware of that, and I don't want to bury our lead because we got a lot to get here.
I saw the takeover.
Yeah.
On the Instagram. I saw that.
Well, we got something to get to. Alex has already taken the opportunity to celebrate his successes. We've been in the interview for like 12 seconds now. So we got plenty of time for bragging, Alex, until the tape runs out. Dear Lord. Actually, I bet the two of you in sort of similar circumstances, just sort of in passing, and I'm proud to say that we developed a friendship and certainly a beneficial working relationship from the Metroparks perspective, and I hope in some ways to yours as well, Alex. So Alex and I met Zoe at a coffee shop. He had mentioned that he was a filmographer, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Well, I work for the Metroparks. He said, yeah, I guess that, right? Because I'm wearing all kinds of Metroparks apparel, which is available in our gift shop for low prices. And I was like, I don't know. This is some guy. I said, hey, we're shooting this thing, and this Bigfoot video, if you'd be down, because I didn't know Alex at all. And he said, yeah, I don't know, I could do that. So in the process of meeting a little, I find out that Alex is a National Geographic Award winner, and I'm I'm like ruining his career by one of the stupid projects. Yeah,
Bigfoot.
Yeah, award-winning Bigfoot video.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, we weirdly secured an award for this thing.
We'll get to all these things. Make sure you edit out the weird portion.
It was totally planned.
It was the climax of Alex's career. Alex, let's back up here quite a bit. Do you have wildlife with you? No, Alex, you are from Toledo, Ohio, correct?
I'm actually from Cleveland.
How about that? All right.
Yeah. So I went to school in Bowling Green.
Okay.
And as soon as I graduated, I moved to Toledo.
Okay.
It's been home base ever since.
All right. So you call yourself a Toledoan? Do you feel like this is home now?
I feel like I call myself a Toledoan now, but I definitely am a transplant. And I think transplants see other transplants in Toledo.
Yeah.
Because I think that most full, like, time Toledoans, I don't know if that's a real thing to say, like, the transplants, I think, get way more excited about the developments in Toledo.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Toledoans, and this is a gross generalization, sometimes can be the most harshest critics of Toledo itself.
Yeah, they've seen some things.
Yeah, sure. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm always promoting Toledo as much as possible to other people, just because it is new to me. And I mean, it's been here like in the development of, I think, the most significant years of my life. You know, I moved here right out of school.
So give me an age. You moved to Toledo and you were how old?
So I think I was 21 when I moved to Toledo.
Okay.
I graduated BG. I worked for the zoo for 4 years.
Okay.
And then went full-time freelance after that.
Okay.
And then I met you.
Yeah, that's right.
There's more to that story.
Incarcerated ever since.
I mean, I literally, I wouldn't say harassed, but every single time I saw you at the coffee shop, I'm like, when are we going to work together?
Yeah.
Like, when
it
are we
was in
going
the restroom. He kept coming in there. So that's an important part of the story.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to work with Metroparks. Like, I loved seeing everything that everybody here was doing. And
sure.
So,
well, we've certainly been well represented and thankful for your gift. But you studied what at BG?
So I actually went to school for film production, but not at all like what I'm doing. They were like training you to move out to like LA or New York and be on like big budget crews.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I showed up and I'm like, I want to do wildlife film. And like all my professors.
Wildlife has always been part of your life. Why wildlife? I mean, were you an outdoors kid?
Yeah. Growing up, like I was always outside, always loved animals. I thought I wanted to be like a biologist or a veterinarian.
Right.
And
I know you, so I know why that didn't come to fruition.
Yeah. I'm terrible at math. I'm pretty sure that like I've sent people numbers all the time and they're like, this doesn't add up at all. And so I'm like, this is going to be miserable. Yeah. Like being a biologist, like I love animals, but I don't think I could pull
So
this
did you
off.
ever have that? Because for a while I wanted to be a marine biologist and then math and science met.
Yeah.
Just as you described me. So it was like fifth grade. My life was crumbling.
No, same thing with math too. Like I wanted to be a veterinarian too up into high school. And I was like, man, I can't get past geometry.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
I don't even
it's just one animal at the time. How much math is required? It turns out a lot.
The trajectory of turkeys and things like that. Yeah, it was miserable. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. I'd started dabbling in video in high school. And somebody showed me Planet Earth, and I was like, that was the moment where I'm like, you can make a career with wildlife.
Absolutely.
That is not at all, related to math and sciences necessarily. I mean, I do a little in passing, but
so the first dabbling in video, what were you shooting? Like,
so I mean, this was like right when YouTube was like becoming a big thing.
Okay.
And so our teachers thought like, oh, like this is what's trending these days.
Sure.
Like kids are making videos for YouTube. So like if you want to do a project, you can do it as a video and you don't have to like do a stand up in front of the class presentation.
Sure.
Yeah. And I like hated doing that.
Yeah.
So every opportunity I could, I just started doing all of my projects as videos.
I've never seen you. I know you do some Facebook Live stuff, but being in front of the camera, totally uncomfortable. You're becoming more comfortable or something.
Yeah, I'm becoming more comfortable with it. I'm kind of forcing myself to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just started doing every project I could as a video.
Okay.
And then it just kind of escalated from there.
So your passion for wildlife shared with the family. Can you talk to me a little? What your folks? Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I have two brothers.
Okay. Youngest, oldest? Where are you fitting in that line?
I'm the middle child.
Oh God,
that's why no one ever pays attention to me.
Sure. Me too.
I'm overlooked. Yeah, you overlook too.
Oh yeah.
No one ever pays attention. to
Even
us.
Now, my parents have to go out of their way to be like, you're pretty good. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, like on your birthday.
Yeah,
Do you want me to videotape you two crying, holding each other? This is taking sort of a sad turn.
Therapy session for middle children.
Yeah, I found the comfort of wild animals because I wasn't loved by my own family.
Oh, my parents are going to hear this and be so sad.
Yes, they will. They're actually here today. This is intervention.
No, I mean, my dad was in the military for 23 years.
Okay, where did he serve?
He was over in Desert Storm in the Middle East for a little bit, and then he became a recruiter, and we actually jumped around quite a bit. So I lived in Toledo for a short period of time, moved to Cleveland for a long period of time, and then moved back to Toledo.
Recruiting for what branch of the military?
Oh, the Army.
Army.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But my mom was always a second grade teacher, And it wasn't until they had some teacher program with the National Park Service where they could spend their summer in a national park and like educate kids who came to the national park. She did that down in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, got like hooked, and then like quit her teaching job to become a national park ranger.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And so like kind
God,
of
I wish she was here. Right? Can you imagine how more interesting this would be? Anyway.
Yeah, so at the time, like wildlife film was becoming like my big thing. My mom was becoming a national park ranger, and she's worked at like Assateague National Seashore.
Yeah, okay.
Outer Banks, a couple other parks in terms. Cuyahoga Valley National Park's a regular for her.
Yeah.
And
Does she have a favorite, or does she?
The Outer Banks.
Yeah. Okay.
She's like obsessed with lighthouses, mom things.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, and then my older brother is starting to move into video, weirdly enough, and then my younger brother actually is law enforcement for National Park Service now.
Get out of town.
Wow.
So this is becoming kind of a family affair.
Yeah,
Two ways. So your brother's dabbling video.
Yeah.
Also in the wildlife. Or?
No, just like client video. He works out in California for like Caltrans. It's like a transportation department of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds thrilling.
Yeah. So
rest assured, we're not going to try to get him on instead of you. Yeah.
My younger brother, though, is law enforcement in Yellowstone.
How about that?
So he has some pretty crazy stories.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Yeah. So it's all.
So your mom makes a pretty substantive change of pace. That's brave.
Yeah. I mean, she was leaving for like 6 months, 7 months of the year.
Sure.
And my dad's just like hanging out in Cleveland just by himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel really bad. We're all just like traveling around.
My parents were the same way. It turned out they'd been divorced. They just did. They didn't know how to. They didn't know how to tell us. And my mom was a ranger at Jellystone. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah. Yogi Bear,
Yeah. I don't know all the wildlife. You're the expert. They have a lot of picnic basket theft.
Yeah.
There. She's not a great ranger, I guess. I don't know.
Law enforcement and Jellystone. Yeah.
So now we've all gotten sad. We're careening into a 35 download space here. That's okay. That's double than what we usually get. I do think that's interesting. I coincidentally also love the second grade, and I love my second grade teacher. So that does represent a change, although she's always been in education. And as we've discussed, and we're going to have on some of our rangers in an upcoming show, a lot of that law enforcement is education first, right? So I can see why those two worlds collided.
Yeah.
So Alex, your first gig at the zoo, you're in the communications department. You're doing in-house videos. What is your role there?
Yeah. So it all kind of came about in a pretty interesting way. While I was still,
we'll determine whether or not it's interesting.
While I was still at BGSU, I was starting to do the wildlife film thing. Despite the fact that my major was kind of trying to push me a different direction. We ended up getting a grant to go to Costa Rica for a month and just backpack my film partner and I around Costa Rica and film a wildlife series.
Yeah.
So we put this thing together, and when we came back, we just kind of like spammed everybody that we knew in the zoo world or the conservation and wildlife world with this, edit. And we're like, this is what we're doing. Like, we want to do more work like this. And the zoo ended up hiring us to come and do conservation videos for them. And
how about that? That had to be really affirming, right? I mean, this is the top-rated zoos in the country.
Yeah.
And to say that your work is not only exemplary, but we want you to help capture our story. And you were 22, 3 then?
Yeah, probably around 21 or 22.
How about that?
So, yeah, it was pretty exciting. So I did that for a short stint. I got to go and, film Tasmanian devil conservation work in Australia. And
let me ask you a question in terms of grant funding. Could Zoe and I apply to go to Costa Rica to do whatever the hell it sounds like that you...
That was literally the premise of the grant. Like, I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Like, it was like...
Zoe, you can imagine, I'll carry the camcorder and you just have a microphone around. It would be wonderful.
Do a podcast?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Bird. What do you what do you have to say?
There's just sloths everywhere, so you can just interview sloths.
Like sloths everywhere. How about that? That's the name of our program. Sloths everywhere.
And we don't leave our couch.
Yeah, Tuesdays with Sloths, the Mitch album. I mean, there's a lot of collaboration opportunities here. I don't want to. We're just spitballing.
Yeah.
Right? So you're working for the zoo. That I would be intimidated by that. Were you ever like, this was a passion, but now I'm on like a major stage here, or have you always felt confident in your skill set?
I actually, weirdly enough, think that I'm getting that phase like now.
You're getting a little
like
more.
What? How did you phrase that? You were like a little
eloquently.
Yeah. Like,
were you ever intimidated and saying, boy, this is a passion of mine, but I'm not sure that I'm ready for this sort of level of engagement?
It's not as much that I'm not like, I don't feel ready for it. It's just like, I think maybe COVID gave me too much downtime.
Sure.
But like severe imposter syndrome hit like last year, like late last year.
Lorenzo and I have been chatting obviously off the show about COVID. And it has allowed for a lot of introspection, which is not something I was seeking. So I hear you.
If I just coasted along at normal speed, I probably would have never had these deep thoughts. But now I'm like, why are
turning in every grant for Costa Rica available?
I'm like, why are people paying me to do this now?
I can very much relate with that feeling. So working for the Metroparks for me, this has been a part of my life forever. And I do believe that I'm in service, and this is a great institution, and has I try not to throw up when I say this, but it has a great brand. I know that's not but I mean it has a great cultural significance. And to represent it, it's like kind of scary. You're standing on the shoulders of 90 years of work. You're standing on this, representing a large scale institution. But on top of that, you're talking about conservation, which you live and breathe and know that it's so important. So representing that and telling that story, that's a real calling.
And I mean, I feel like as you develop and like we're starting pulling clients that were like dream clients, like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd never thought I would be having a conversation with some of the people that we're talking to, and it's
like me and Lorenzo.
Right. Bigfoot videos.
Okay. Don't marginalize what I do.
So it's
award-winning
Bigfoot.
Why you guys looked at me like I denied your award? Like,
don't you know who we are?
That's right.
But now it's just like these conversations are happening, and it's one of those weird moments where you're like, like if I screw up, like now I've really screwed up because it's like you're in front of the people that you want to be in front of.
You're aspiring.
And so it's weird.
Let's parse a little bit of that, and I won't delve too deep into your neuroses because I can feel that. I feel your pain in that way. To date, just tell me some of the places you've been to film.
So a couple of my favorite ones. Well, I did the Marshall Islands recently, which was a fun one and a weird one. It's in the South Pacific. It's kind of between Hawaii and Australia, so where it's just blue. I'm like looking for a map. There's like islands in there. That don't show up on the map.
And the Marshall Islands, there's like thousands of them.
There's thousands of these islands that are just they're atolls. So they used to be volcanoes, and then the volcanoes collapse into themselves, and they form this like coral ring that people can surprisingly live on.
Interesting.
And so I was there with California Academy of Sciences, and they have a dive team that is one of only 2 dive teams in the world that can dive to depths of 500 feet.
Okay.
So recreational diving stops like it may be 100 feet. And they're looking for new species of fish. And so we were on a live-aboard ship, an old retired Navy vessel, and we were just driving for 2.5 weeks around these islands. And they'd be like, this looks like a great spot to pull over and start diving. They would go dive down and start looking for new species.
And who approached you to do this work?
So, funny story is I met the producer who worked for California Academy of Sciences at a film festival. And I was like, oh, I'd love to do work for them. I went up and I introduced myself. And it was like, I felt like I had bombed this conversation. I was like, she will never talk to me again, and I don't think she likes me. And I just like walked away from it like that was an awkward conversation. And I think it was my fault. And then like 3 weeks later, she somehow got my email and emailed me and was like,
can you imagine the other idiot she must have talked to?
She's like, oh man, I got to go to this guy.
If you rose to the top of charm. This film school was in the middle of Sing Sing, the penitentiary, just to give you an idea.
So she reached out and she's like, we've got this project we're doing, and we try and get videographers on each trip that we do. They do 20 expeditions in like a term.
And you might have mentioned this, so forgive me, but how long is the term, or how long is the expedition?
So the expedition we went on was a little over 3 weeks. And we were on this ship for 2.5 weeks, and there were only 2 toilets, and one of them broke like the second day.
How many people are on this boat?
14. And it's not big enough. And we were on this. And then when you're in the middle of the ocean like that, you have a desalinator. So it like takes the salt out of the water so you can drink it. That broke on like day 3.
What?
So it was like half. They loaded up on like bottled water, and then we ran out very quickly. We were just drinking like Coca-Cola, like green tea, and then like half salty water. Yeah. And so like every morning I wake up and I normally chug like a big thing of water, and I was just like trying not to throw up every morning because
there's half.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and this was a Disney cruise. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So
that is quite a voyage.
They found 2 new species of fish, though.
Yeah. Well, after pounding down half saltwater,
everything
would have looked. Yeah.
What's the goal of that? Is obviously to find new fish, but is there like if we don't find at least 4, then this isn't good?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. Like, what is the?
So it's not necessarily like a numbers game as much as they're going to countries that they've identified as places that need more marine protected areas.
Okay.
And so when they normally find this, like they got big international fame because in Africa, I think they were near Zanzibar, they found, it was right around the time Black Panther came out, they found this black and purple new species of fish, and they named it the Wakanda fish.
Okay.
And then like this African country was so like proud of it that they were like, we're gonna protect this area. This fish is only found here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna create a marine protected area with you guys.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
So it's kind of like a pride thing.
Oh, without question. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're going to these places and trying to be like, look, you've got species of
fish.
fish.
And actually begging people to give a reason to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
So it's like they're trying to prove like you've got things that are of value here and we need to protect them. Mm-hmm. And so, every time they find a new species of fish, they'll do like a publication and try and get the word out about it and then work with the governments to try and help protect this area.
Yeah. So I guess it's always been curious to me, and I don't know if you have an answer for this, Alex, but of what has to be, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of species of fish, how is one identified as not being one that's already registered? There's you're swimming along and you have like a book of photos.
Almost. They were.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how is it identified? Like, this one looks truly unique, or you have the amount of expertise that are between the ears of the people who are with you that they just know that this is not.
Yeah, they were 4 marine biologists who were insanely smart people. Who were all down there together as a team. And
what did you guys talk about at dinner?
We actually watched a lot of John Wick and talked about movies.
How about that?
We had 2 of the. We had the 3rd John Wick on the boat, and we were like, we need the other 2 because we need to know what is going on.
That's a pretty layered plot. Absolutely, you got to know how that ends.
Whose decision was it to? Hey, we're going to bring 3 and not 1 and 2.
I don't know, but when
who cares which number you bring in? They're all exactly the same.
Well, I've only seen 1, and I'm excited to see 2 and 3.
Ruin it then.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a layered plot.
We need to know how we got here. When we got to one of the islands, we actually went on a search for 1 and 2 and found them, and then we rewatched them all. You're on a boat.
Did you film your guys' search for the other John Wicks?
I think that's what is.
That's a story that's worth telling.
We need to send that to Keanu Reeves or something.
Yeah. Can you imagine the crap that Keanu Reeves?
Award-winning hunt for Keanu.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. This needs to be a film.
I know you
in
mean
itself.
that mockingly, but I'm going to embrace it in a different way.
Yeah. So they're diving in a place that only one other team can dive in, and you're getting to a point in the ocean where like things transition from being fish that you would see from this depth to fish that no one ever gets to see.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the only way to get to this depth, I'm struggling right now through this mask, is to dive down to it. And there's only 2 teams doing it. And a lot of people, when they get to this point, they're going to run a submarine.
Okay.
And they're going to just take a submarine, and they're not going to stop at 500 feet.
Yeah.
They're going to take it as far down as they can go.
How about that?
So there's this
were you part of the submarine, or how are you capturing this?
Well, we didn't have a submarine. These guys were just diving. I just cover them in GoPros and roll it and then send them down. And then I would snorkel along and film when they're in shallower water.
Okay.
But like there's this whole middle area of the ocean between recreational diving and submarines that just no one's exploring.
Fascinating.
So it's just like a very overlooked region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must never end the amount of excitement of going into that space, because every day you could be experiencing something that no one has identified before. What a thrilling.
Yeah.
What a thrilling experience. And also, again, it has to be exciting to go through the footage and capture these things. You are part of identifying a species that no one is aware of.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when they pull something up.
And there was 2. You said there was 2 identified in this space?
So when they pull up this fish, because they'll catch one and bring it up, and they have to go through and do all their like scientific checking of it, and to see it, you're like, I'm one of a few people who have just now seen a brand new species of fish. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Do you ever take the time of all the things you've done? I'm sure, like finding new fish and going to different places. Do you ever take the time to appreciate, like, man, I just did that, or we found that together, or this, whatever? Do you take the time to like appreciate what you're doing?
I think that's something I'm regularly working on, because there's moments where I'll film something that's amazing to see, but like I'm so focused through a camera.
There's a separation. Yeah. Interesting.
So like in one instance when I was over in Africa, we were filming a black rhino, and it was perfect sunlight, just like a really great evening, and it was really calm, and we filmed quite a bit, and I was like, I want to just stop, and we're going to just turn the car off. I'm going to stop rolling, and I'm going to just sit, and I'm going to enjoy this. Because
good for you. Alex, who do you film for? When you're looking through the lens, who's the audience you think of? Or do you think of the whatever you're capturing?
I mean, I think that I'm constantly thinking about how am I going to use this footage to inspire some sort of change.
Okay.
And one of the big things that is becoming more of a trend in wildlife filmmaking is what's called impact producing. And it's really like taking the time before you even start production to identify who is the most significant audience to reach right now. Is it 1 million people on YouTube, or is it one politician who maybe has the say to protect this area?
Explain to me how the story changes between those two things, because to a layperson like myself, capturing something that embodies change would be the same, but it's different. You're saying, can you talk to me a little bit about?
Yeah, I think that the tone and the conversation that you're having through what you're producing is going to be completely different. I mean, if you're talking to a political figure who has the power to preserve an area, you got to speak in terms that are going to want to justify them doing this. Know, is protecting this area a financially like important thing to do? Is it going to bring like ecotourism? Like, you got to talk, I think, in different ways to them. And then I think if you're talking to a general audience, you want this to be a story that maybe families can get behind and become invested and drawn into. And maybe you impact a kid with a video that now they want to become a biologist like we all wanted to be.
Right.
And maybe they'll be better at math than all of us.
Yeah.
And they'll
not a high bar.
And then maybe they'll actually go on to do something that preserves
Or maybe work at a Blockbuster and rent out John Wick.
There you go.
100%.
Make your dreams come true.
Yeah, that one Blockbuster in the U.S.
Yeah, the one in Alaska or whatever.
I think it's somewhere weird.
Don't correct me. It's rude. I'm the host. Alex, that was one of the places there, a number one. A second location that was a favorite in terms of filming?
Oddly enough, like there's some great, well, it's not that odd, but there's some great U.S. locations that I think are really overlooked.
Sure.
Like obviously Yellowstone is a pretty well-known place, but if you get out there in the right time of year when it's not insanely packed full of people, you get to see some pretty amazing things.
Tell me what those things are.
So I went out there, I think the end of 2018 for a winter shoot to film gray wolves.
Okay.
And winter in Yellowstone's the best time to see wolves. And we ended up seeing, I think, 24 gray wolves in 11 days. And it was, I mean, this is just an amazing shoot all around because there were just bull moose everywhere, bison everywhere, and like this beautiful, sparkling, like steamy geysers in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
So it was just amazing to see something that's in kind of our own backyard. Like you don't have to get a passport to go here.
Right. But it does look like it might as well be the other end of the planet.
Yeah. So that was pretty amazing. I mean, it was like -40 with no wind chill the entire time I was there.
Yeah.
But it was pretty amazing to see.
A little better than your Disney cruise, though.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, water. There was water all around us. No salt.
So you said something that's interesting to me about capturing, the species of fish and having that experience be important on any number of levels. Capturing the wildlife in Northwest Ohio, you kind of started out, almost, I think would be, to me, for a layperson, maybe on like the top of the world in terms of interesting and exotic places to capture, being part of one of two groups that can go out and capture this aquatic life in that space.
Yeah.
Transitioning back to Northwest Ohio, there's got to be some equivalent or some things that have caught your eye. What around here is not only checks boxes for you in terms of interesting to film, but also from a conservation angle? Like what story needs to be told through your lens?
Yeah, I think that as time goes on, I become more and more interested and invested in what's going on in this area. Not only because I've just made it home, but because if you do any bit of research into what Northwest Ohio used to be, like with the Oak Openings region and Black Swamp, you start to realize that we're in a very, very different world than what used to be here 100 plus years ago. And you start to realize that these ecosystems are completely missing.
That's right.
And so being involved with what Metroparks is doing to preserve land and restore land is so important, because there's so many species that are dependent upon these parcels of land that Metroparks has given them.
We're one of those species.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And so we also then start to see like economic benefits coming from it, like the biggest week in American birding and things like that. So I think we have a lot of people who obviously enjoy just being outdoors in the Metroparks, but we live in an area that has some really rare ecosystems. And so if I can show them through an animal story how important these ecosystems are to potentially restore, like maybe it means doing pollinator gardens in your yard, or maybe it means buying 400 acres of farmland and flipping it.
Sure.
Like, I want to be able to help inspire that.
Do you want to change behavior?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find species people don't know are here, or species that people do know are here, but maybe they don't get to see as often.
Sure.
And really, like, show them why it's so important that we keep restoring this landscape.
So a couple shots, and also we'll get to Lorenzo's weird obsession with ducks, which is all true. Do not edit that out.
Oh, you're right.
I know.
I mean, it's not weird, but whatever.
Yeah, sure. So, around here, you're out all the time. I know that you are passionate about a couple things, but I don't want to tell this story for you. What is kind of scratching your itch now, or what is on the front burner for you from a wildlife conservation standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that they're necessarily like an endangered species or threatened at all, but something like barred owls are a very overlooked species, not necessarily on purpose, but because they just are so hard to find.
Sure.
And they're so hard to see. In the Metroparks habitats that exist in Northwest Ohio, are perfect for them. I mean, we're in Wildwood right now, and I'm pretty sure there's barred owls all around here. Mm-hmm. So for the past couple of years, and I mean, it was in part because of the Raptor Survey program and documenting what you guys do with Steve Lauer and Karen Menard, I started to find these barred owl nests, or these barred owls in the parks. And it's been it's over 2 years now that I've been documenting the same pair of barred owls kind of going through their seasons. And ultimately, I hope to put together a story that just shows, some of the amazing species that exist here, and tell just like a heartfelt story about animals that live right here.
And I don't want to step on that, because you've let me into a little bit of your plans here, so we'll revisit that hopefully in the year to come. I think it's certainly going to be an exciting story, but you could have gone in and kind of mailed that volunteer portion in terms of capturing it. What about these owls that sort of called out to you?
I mean, first of all, you're getting to see something that most people don't get to see. They maybe hear it at nighttime, but they're not going to see them hanging out and doing what they do. And I think I was really lucky the first year that I started filming them, because this pair was just so charismatic. They were so used to people walking on the trails, and it's kind of amazing because the pair that I've been filming is right by a trail in one of the Metroparks, and people walk by it constantly.
Yeah.
And they never realize that at any given time there's 4 owls just sitting there.
Wow.
And like, oddly enough, I'm like out there with a big camera set up, and they don't even like try and look which direction I'm pointing. Sometimes I'll turn it and be like, oh, there's a woodpecker over there, just to kind of like keep the area safe. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to get insight into what their lives are like, because this pair of owls, these 2 adults, are like grooming each other, and they're calling for each other, and one shows up.
They're partners.
You start to realize this whole life that they have together.
Lorenzo and I are very much like that. Before the show, I groom him for hours.
The breaks that my mom asks about, the breaks that we take,
Yeah, that's right. That's a great story, and we're lucky to have you help us tell it. Alex, the amount of concentration and patience it must take to, first of all, lug all the equipment out to this. When you're doing this on your own, how do you get inspiration of what you want to capture? What is the process like? Are you out there sometimes? What do you think about when you're waiting for the shot to prevail itself to you?
Yeah. I think it's a number of driving factors. You know, you're super motivated to hopefully go out there and document something that maybe no one's ever seen before.
Sure.
Or find, in my case right now, the owls. And that's usually driving, you know, what you're doing. And then if you find them, you're so focused on trying to just document and produce a quality image.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you are just dragging a lot of heavy camera gear out into the middle of nowhere,
right,
and hoping that you find something and you don't find anything. So sure. I've started, I've just dubbed it endurance training.
Yeah.
I'm just like loading my backpack up with a bunch of weight and carrying this tripod around. I'm like, well, if anything, I'm getting a workout, and that's it. And getting my like nature therapy of being outdoors for a little while.
And the editing has got to be even worse.
The editing is pretty brutal. I'm just trapped behind a computer for like months afterwards.
Have you ever been disappointed after the process and had to start all over again? Just because golly.
Because I mean, in the case
is right, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. In the case of like the owls, for instance, I'm going to document them. The goal is for 3 seasons, and realistically, I'm filming the same thing each year.
Right.
But I'm trying to get a different angle.
Sure.
So like, I'll film it one year, and I'm like, I really wish I had gotten that.
That's a lot like the 3 John Wicks.
Yeah. There's a reoccurring theme here.
Right? I mean, your words, Lorenzo. Like the first time, it's just a bizarrely cast guy hell-bent on revenge after his dog is killed.
Mm-hmm. You're going to spoil this whole movie.
No, well, I guess we saw the first one.
Okay.
I saw the first one.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, wait till the...
You You got to do the next 2. That's your weekend homework.
Yeah.
Binge watch them.
Well, now I got to make sure we actually stay up to watch them, because that happens too.
Sure. For sure. So, pardon me.
No, you're right.
Don't worry. The survey will reflect my interruption of you negatively. They usually do. What drives you? It is your compulsion to get things right. Are you obsessive compulsive? I had to admit I would settle. I had to feel like if I had to scrap the whole thing, regardless of how I felt, it would be difficult for me to motivate myself. To get it just right. Well, how do you drive yourself to tell this story exactly the way you want to?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I think it's seeing what other people are doing, you know, like watching what other wildlife filmmakers are putting out, watching what the channels are putting out. And, you know, you start to see trends, and you start to see kind of the same thing over and over and over again.
That makes sense to me.
So you're always going to see elephants in Africa. You're always going to see bison in Yellowstone. But no one ever sees barred owls in oak openings.
Right.
And so to put together a film of something totally outside of the realm of what people would have thought of, and maybe it does become more time consuming. You know, they have budgets they have to adhere to, and I'm just driving out on my own free time.
Right.
I think that's what kind of motivates me, is like, I want to put together a film on not necessarily the most charismatic animal, even though this pair has proven to be. This guy? Should we film him?
I mean, he checks it already, your first box of non-charismatic animals.
So
he has a lot of free time, too. I mean, there's not...
Doesn't he work for you guys?
I thought you brought him.
He just wears the Metroparks shirt and walks around.
The guest has never turned on me before.
That's why you only get positive reviews in the survey, so I am going to make it a point to.
Is there a legit survey?
There was one time we've
had multiple surveys.
I've only got sent one, so I want to see those.
Everyone says I talk too much, and everyone loves him.
Well, and I tried to explain that. I've explained it before after the first survey. Like, I'm controlling this, and I want to make sure this sounds good. So sometimes Matt has to talk.
Yeah.
And plus, Matt's good and talks a lot.
Yeah.
So,
okay. See, Alex, I want you to know that Lorenzo's whole family filled out the survey.
Nobody
without being on the podcast. They just
wanted to be. The whole thing. The fix was in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't. You keep going in that.
No, I think it's just I want to show people something that they haven't seen before, and I think that's the driving factor behind a lot of what I'm filming, whether it's owls or it's something out in Yellowstone or Africa. Like,
what is a big? You've won multiple awards. I know that is what motivates you. You've won a National Geographic Award.
Yeah.
You've won a local advertising media award.
Yeah, let's see if we can get another one.
Yeah, we've got one. We have one submitted this year.
Yeah.
What? And again, I know this isn't a motivating factor, but what is a career recognition award or that you're searching for, like on your bucket list? Or where would your video be shown? You've been on CBS Sundays, which is a small feat. Like, where do you aspire to tell your stories?
I don't know if I have like an out. I used to, when I first started out, it was like National Geographic was like the thing.
Yeah, and you've done that.
And so I've been fortunate to have done stuff with Nat Geo. And then I've started to realize that like I value just having a sustainable career doing what I love more than like being on a BBC or a Nat Geo or anything. Doesn't mean I don't want that.
Sure.
It just means that, you know, if I can go and produce what I want to and make a living off of it, that's a
good message, man. You're, for a young person, not to make you feel uncomfortable. That's a good message. A sustainable career doing something you love.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be. I guess I hear all the time people tell me like I need to move to Bristol, England, or Bristol in the UK to go and like do this full time, or I need to live in New York or LA or DC. And I think that whenever somebody tells me I have to do something, I usually feel pretty motivated to do the opposite.
Yeah, and
prove them like I can still do this a different way.
Sure.
And so like Toledo, I foresee being home base indefinitely, just because I know my overhead's low. I love the community that's here. Everybody's so supportive of what I'm doing. Why would I want to go be poor in DC because I can't afford my rent and work 3 jobs, trying to make it in one of them?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people, and here's my Toledo rant, think that you have to leave Toledo to be doing what you want to be the And I think in some cases
that
that's
was the
probably
old
true.
Chamber of Commerce tagline. Yeah, it was
leave Toledo and come back.
No, leave Toledo and able to do what you want to be doing. I don't know. It was scrapped early. I don't know. I sort of missed the mark.
Yeah, that did not win the Addy.
It turns out it did not.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that if you really want to do something that's maybe in the creative field, especially like we're all so connected now.
Yeah, it seems that way.
That you can get your work in front of anybody you want to get your work in front of.
Yeah.
But also there's so much value to what this community offers as far as, you know, relatively low, like cheap, affordable living. Yeah, your cost of living so affordable that, you know, I might not be in DC, but I can now afford to go to 6 or 7 film festivals in a year.
That's right.
To meet the people I need to meet.
Right.
And they're not going to want to hang out with me every single day, so I just leave and come back.
Yeah.
And then I keep in touch.
Well, I don't know if I relate to everything you said, but not wanting to hang out with you every single day, I can totally relate with that. I want to nerd out a little bit here. People are always interested when the experts we bring on, like your gear.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in the very first video recording device you owned, and also what is something you have with you all the time? Do you never leave home without a camera or a video camera or something, or a particular brand you follow that you're a loyalist to? Can you give us some insight into those two spaces?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first started out, it was literally just like this flip camera.
Yeah. Make sure you use your hands. That's helpful on this podcast.
It was just this flip camera, like the size of your phone.
Video guy.
I'm behind the camera normally. Yeah, it was just the most basic thing. And then I moved up to some DSLR cameras and just started investing in longer lenses to be able to get wildlife. That being said, I think a lot of people, there's a hurdle, like a financial hurdle, because some of these lenses are getting expensive.
Yeah.
Getting expensive, like ballpark.
I mean, there's some great starter lenses that are like $2,000 or $1,800.
That's a real commitment, though.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's real money.
So I think that intimidates a lot of people, and understandably so. I mean, it's not a fun purchase to throw that on a credit card or something like that.
Sure.
But, you know, things are starting to get more affordable. There's starting to be more camera brands. And I think that you can still take a great image with, you know, not a telephoto lens, and maybe even a cheaper telephoto lens.
Okay.
And so I think that being said, you know, people see the big fancy gear, and there's a reason that it's big fancy gear, and you don't necessarily need that all the time to be doing what you love, taking photos of wildlife.
Right. Well said.
So,
all right, Alex. Well, that's all I've got, man. I'm thrilled to have you on. I'm also excited to introduce that we are going to start putting these videos up on our YouTube page. We're going to be working with you to add some of your nature videos at the end of the production. So thanks for partnering with us.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're excited. Anything for our guest, though, before we...
I know you had talked about asking him some of our top threes.
Yes. Well, so before we close, we'll back up. And before we close, we've got a couple questions for you here, Alex.
All right.
And there's no pressure on this because I can't express to you how dumb Lorenzo's answers were. So don't. You almost swore.
Have you had
You're
to bleep
number
anybody?
one.
No, not yet.
He never does.
No.
That's another thing that's on my bucket list for 2021.
To get one sensor.
Just one. Yeah, he's gotten so close.
He's thinking about ducks, man.
Yeah.
And he's worried about his survey results.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry. It's his family filling him out.
Okay.
So your number one outdoor-related film.
Outdoor-related film. Oh, man, this is tough.
It's going to be John Wick.
There's a lot of indoor scenes in that.
Yeah. Never bothers though. Even if there's a window in the movie, he considers it an outdoor. Your
Like
number
wildlife film or just any outdoor film?
It's not a 2-hour show, Alex. Just answer.
Oh my gosh! All right, best wildlife series in my opinion is The Hunt.
The Hunt.
Yeah,
All right.
it's really good. It was on Netflix for a while. But if it's just like a general outdoor film, man, what was that Wes Anderson one with Bill Murray's
Life Aquatic?
Yeah, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. It's just...
Yeah, that's a good one. Have you seen that one?
I have not. No.
Yeah.
it's fun. It just makes fun of all the like tropes of being basically Jacques Cousteau and
It's good.
and being a wildlife filmmaker.
Yeah.
So it's a fun one.
All right. What's that? Oh, another one.
What do you think the best Christmas present you ever got?
I'm starting to get a lot of wool socks lately.
Jesus.
And those are your best gifts?
I mean, it's cold here.
Yeah.
I've started to realize that, like, as I get older, I just want comfy things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm usually kind of miserable out in the field.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I can wear wool socks with them, like, I got wool socks on right now.
All right.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
That's right.
That's
Saving the world, but a man of simple needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's all the more, especially since these are getting more boring by the second. That's it, man. Alex, again, everybody who's downloaded, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Alex is going to be packaging some of his awesome videos in National Geographic Award winning and celebrating Northwest Ohio. So check it out on the Metroparks YouTube page. Alex, thanks, brother.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks
sure
for
I'll
having
see
me.
you both indoors and outdoors soon.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be right back with our top three and a question from my mom.
All right, we are back. What a boring guy. Thank God that's over.
Wool socks? Can you believe it?
That's right. Wolves and wolf socks, and God bless him.
No, that was I'm very interested in wildlife, and I love, like you talked about planet Earth.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff. So it was a cool conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really talented guy. Again, we check us out on YouTube. We'll be packaging all of, or a lot of, I should say, of Alex's wildlife videos in the end of our podcast here. So it'll be a video component of it. We're really excited. The first one is in turkeys, as shown on CBS Sunday. So a national audience saw this, and he's got some sidebars and stuff that he wants to show you. I don't know if you know a lot about wild turkeys, Lorenzo. I did not.
No.
Until moving back here, but really, really beautiful stuff. So we're excited for it. But just as excited to bring to you our top three, the static portion of our show, where we go inside and outside to ask each other our top three. This question is top three most challenging things about the winter in Northwest Ohio.
Everything.
That's right. So top three. Your number three, Lorenzo. Third most challenging thing about the winter in Northwest Ohio.
Finding entertainment.
Okay.
So especially now because of not being able to go inside places as much, but because there is less sunlight, just being outside is a difficult thing to do. That's what's good about these night walks that we do. You know, it provides more entertainment, more space, but it's difficult. Everything kind of, you got to get creative, especially we have kids. So you got to get creative with trying to entertain them all the time, as opposed to just sitting in front of the television.
Not an easy gig.
No.
Yep. That is certainly a legitimate number three.
Yeah.
And mine is proper layering.
Okay.
I just ran into this topical last week. It was a program at night, Swan Creek. I thoroughly planned what I would describe as like the top half of my body in terms of layers. And I very much fumbled the bottom half, which I don't think caused irreparable damage. But I was sweating in sort of the attic and frozen in the basement. It was a nightmare.
Did you just have jeans on?
I just had jeans on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm still wearing them today. I was not able to pry them off. But layering properly, it's just one of the many things, right? God, it's I hate it. So, layering, finding things to do certainly should be on lists. Number 2.
Number 2 is, like I said, I have kids. One of the most challenging things is getting 2 kids ready to go outside and play in the snow.
Yeah.
Because
remind me how old your kids are.
6 and 9.
Okay, 6 and 9.
So they're almost there where they can get some of their stuff on, but in order for me to have peace of mind, I have to make sure they go on in the correct order. Like you need to put gloves and then the jacket, so they're clamped in there tight. But then they always want to be out immediately because their friend just rang the doorbell. Yeah. So everyone's running around like just madmen just running around.
Yeah, it's hard for me to shoot holes in this because I just told you that I am not able to dress myself properly. So maybe I should come over to your house before.
I'll help you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it is a difficult, challenging thing just because I wish they could dress themselves, but they can't.
Let me tell you, who is the more patient between you and your wife with the kiddos?
She's pretty good at getting them dressed,
Yeah.
And being patient about it. Like I think it's because for me, I want to know that they're prepared to be outside.
Yeah.
Like, so it has to be done correctly. Sometimes they'll go out without a hat on.
Yeah.
Like, it's cold. Get a hat on.
Yeah,
man.
sure.
Come on. Yeah. What about you? What number 2 challenging?
Mine is keeping an adequate amount of windshield wiper fluid in my car, which I right now don't, and I also think there might be some small mechanical defect in it. Like the amount, like I'm frequently without able to clean it, and it's a driving salted death trap.
Do you get the one that works better when it's colder, or do you just get whatever?
Is that the blue one?
No, it's usually orange.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I don't get that. Right. I didn't even know there were multiple choices.
Yeah. There's some that work better when it's colder.
How about that?
Supposedly, I don't know.
Well, I know one thing: they're all delicious.
Okay.
Tell you that right now. I prefer the blue, but I don't want. I don't have that sophisticated of a palate. Number one, most challenging thing.
It sounds simple, but I work outside.
Yeah.
For most of my job, I'm outside. Breathing when it's freezing outside.
Yeah, sure.
And these masks don't help.
They don't help.
And next week it's going to be really cold.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm seeing what it's going to do. How fast the particles freeze on your mask.
Yeah.
But just breathing in cold air, or if you're like moving around, if you're trying to move things and you're breathing in heavily, brutal.
Chasing your kid to put the hat on.
Yeah, sure. Wait a minute.
Mine is where's the sun? We have sun for 15 minutes a week. Man, I mean that furthers our initial comments for the show today is, man, you got to get outside.
Yep.
It is hard, even in the normal years, to stay upbeat and mentally healthy. But man, Northwest Ohio that has that 30 to 60 day period of gray, then brown from the mud, then back to gray. And that last snowstorm in like April or sometimes May, I think the last frost is lifted, or warning is lifted in Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So boy, that is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
So the sun, or lack thereof, is the most challenging thing.
Do you think you could tolerate the winter more if it was at least nice to look at?
2,000%.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as needing sunlight.
Yeah.
It even if it isn't, it seems warmer, right? There's I'm sure any number of actual medical things to check this box that you and I are.
This podcast is not for.
It's not geared for the educated.
Yeah.
It's not our demographic.
Nope, that's all right.
Yeah. 2 guys who can barely read, one of which has made a duck hut that is vacant.
We're getting there.
We are getting there.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, that's it, man. Northwest Ohio and winters are not the worst, but they're not the easiest. So get outside the best you can. Stay out of my car because it is a salted death trap. Stay away from all of Lorenzo's masks because they are frozen. And if you see me, please, or bring an extra pair of pants. If you think you might run into me, I'll need them.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Our top 3.
Yes.
This was a good list. I think informative.
Yeah,
People
very.
are learning. That's all they can do. I wouldn't say very. That's all they can do. So next we've got the most popular part of the show and a great question I heard coming down the pike for your mom.
Yeah. So the question this week is, what is the oldest tree in our system and where is it located? The oldest tree that our experts have guessed is a big bur oak that is about 250 years old, which is an old tree. They are, I guess it's not something we do regularly as far as like, hey, let's see how old that tree is. But this is their best guess, is that this tree is about 250 years old. And it's a bur oak on the Canale. How do you say that? Canale property. So that's what we got for you, Mom. And everybody else that wants to know that answer. So.
All right, another show down
the hatch?
That's right.
Is that
I don't know. I just did it there.
Okay.
People can, it's like a Mad Lib. Our listeners can fill in their own. Great guest, great show.
As always.
I hope you guys enjoy the Alex's video. It's super cool. Keep downloading. Please give us a review. Unless it's going to be negative, then don't bother. And I'll see you next week, brother.
Yeah. Great podcast. As always, you can find everything Metroparks at metroparkstoledo.com. This has been the Metroparks Podcast. Get outside yourself.
It is wintertime here in Northwest Ohio, just on the edge of Swan Creek Metro Park. These mature male turkeys, called toms, are doing their best to court the female hens of the flock. Strutting slowly about, the toms fan their tail feathers in display in an attempt to woo a hen. Turkeys are polygamous, so toms will hope to mate with multiple hens in a season. By 1904, turkeys had become completely extirpated from the state of Ohio, meaning they no longer existed here. Habitat loss and hunting completely removed them from the Ohio landscape. It wasn't until 2000, however, that you could find turkeys once again roaming throughout Lucas County. We hope that you'll get a chance to view these beautiful birds yourself in the parks.